mentioned that you, with the ideas and the strength and weaknesses sort of being closely tied together, you were able to take them down at the same time. Of course, the strength and weaknesses part of it sort of found its way into the Texas State Board of Education case, and it still lives on a little bit.
It started there. I mean, that phrase comes from you all.
Yeah, and so it lives on, and it's we're seeing it in the movies with Ben Stein, although his main thing was academic freedom, but within that academic freedom was supposed to be teaching the strengths and weaknesses of evolution. Have you gotten to a point where you can anticipate the next tactic coming from the opposition? Can you sort of look ahead and say, okay, I can see where they're coming from now and be prepared before it even kicks off?
Certainly the current strategy it hasn't been fully played out. These academic freedom laws that are springing up around the country are exploiting this denigration of evolution kind of strategy. And it's a very viable one for them, you know, because creationists think dichotomously, but I think so does the general public. And they believe that there's either creation or evolution. So all you have to do is just disprove evolution and creationism wins by default. And I think that's the way a lot of students will think too. Yeah. And they believe, I think that a student coming into a class and hearing that evolution is a lot of junk is going to say, oh, well, then God did it. You know, without the teacher even necessarily bringing that in.
I sure wish school was that easy when I was in school. To put God did it on every test paper, I'd have made straight A's.
Yeah. Alas. But as far as other strategies, I mean, this is where the marbles are in this, you know, circle now. Yeah. But they might try to come up with another iteration, as it were, of special creationism, only this time leave the agent out, so to speak. Creation science was really just gussied up biblical literalism, and it didn't take long before that was, you know, everybody could recognize that was a religious view. Intelligent design basically just took the core idea of special creation, which is God creating complicated things, the design argument. And then they tried to waffle on the agent by saying that it doesn't have to be a supernatural agent. You know, could be a material agent. Oh yeah, astronauts from outer space, right? They came in and designed the bacteria flagellum, right? We know that. But it wasn't very credible. They might try to come up with an agentless form of that same basic special creation idea. Not sure exactly what form that would take. Possibly going back to a view presented by Wendell Bird, who was the young lawyer from Yale, who was one of the early strategists back in the 70s of the legal approaches of the creation science movement, and who was responsible for a lot of this idea of equal time for creation science and evolution. Wendell Bird actually is practicing in Atlanta, and was the lawyer who argued for the Louisiana state in Edwards versus Aguillard. So he's, you know, kind of, he hasn't done much lately, but he's sort of still a player. But way back then, in his brief for the Edwards versus Aguillard case, he proposed the idea of sudden emergence theory. Now, which is one of my favorite euphemisms, actually. But sudden emergence theory is just looking at the evidence for the sudden emergence of the universe, the sudden emergence of plants and animals. Cambrian explosion is the favorite for that one, of course. Without saying anything about an agent whatsoever. Now, it didn't work with Wendell Bird, but on the other hand, they were really putting all their marbles into creation science at the time. They may try to resurrect that, but of course the problem is there really isn't any positive evidence for the universe, all those galaxies and the planetary system and our solar system and everything else. There really isn't any evidence for the galaxies and the solar system and planetary systems and plants and animals just sort of suddenly coming into existence. The evidence that we have shows that the universe has changed gradually over time, and that organisms have changed gradually over time, not that pine trees and baboons and mollusks poofed into existence all at once. So they would have a tough time coming up with a curriculum But where we would go back to, of course, is our old friend, evidence against evolution is evidence for. So probably the curriculum for a sudden emergence lesson plan would be all the things that are wrong with evolution.
Yeah.
So I think that's a long shot right now. I think for the next several years, until there is a lawsuit over the denigration of evolution strategy, the evidence against evolution strategy. This is what we're going to be facing.